Hi everyone! I wanted to quickly go over a solution to displaying a table that is a Fahrenheit to Celsius conversion, because I think this problem illustrates some general concepts that I want you to understand whenever you're making and using your own commands. So displaying a table of information like this, we did this once before. It looked kind of like this. You're going to write a for loop, and your loop variable will start at some number, like 35. It will add by 5 every time, and it will keep going as long as it's smaller than 100. So we'll start at 35 and go up to 100. Okay, so if I want to display a table of values, before you did something like this. You printed out the number, and then maybe an arrow, and then something else. Like when we were displaying the square of numbers, remember you had a calculation here that was like, let's square the number. And what that looked like was something like this. So here we're starting at 35, 40, 45, 50, and then I'm displaying what's that number squared. Well, okay, so what if this number is really a temperature? So I'm going to rename this as temp. And over here, this is in Fahrenheit, so I'll say Fahrenheit. And over here, I want to display whatever it is in Celsius, so temperature in Celsius. Well, the problem is I need to calculate the temperature in Celsius somehow. So before you knew about methods, you might do something like this. Whatever I want to display over here, I would just calculate it on the line before. So I'm going to create a new variable called temperature Celsius, and then this is the formula for how you would take a temperature in Fahrenheit and convert it into Celsius. And so this would work. I could display a table like this. Here we go. Okay, actually, now that I'm looking at this, this actually takes a temperature in Celsius and converts it to Fahrenheit. So this is backwards. Let's fix it. Okay, here we go. This is more what I had in mind. Alright, so that was before you knew how to create your own commands. One of the great things about commands is that this is not really obvious what it's supposed to be doing. I mean, it helps that I named the variables things that will help you guess at what it does. But what we'd really like to do is think about what is this doing in general. This is taking an input that's Celsius and giving you it's taking an input that's Fahrenheit and giving you an output that's Celsius. So it would be really great if we had a command that converts Fahrenheit to Celsius. And so then we could give it a number that's input, like 23. This would be 23 degrees Fahrenheit, and this would give us, as an output, what is that in Celsius? Well, if you've written a command like that, now I can use it inside my table to make the calculation. So I'm going to give it all of my temperatures one at a time, and it's going to convert them one at a time, and I'll save them, and then print it in the table. So all we've got to do is write this command now. I've said that so far our template's going to be kind of the same every time, public static, and then this tells you what kind of information is the output. So here, the output is a number that represents the temperature. So that's going to be an output that's a double. Here's the name of your command. And then you have to have inside the parentheses here a variable that will hold whatever number you need to give the command as input. So here I'm giving it a temperature as an input. So I could have int temp as my input. And this temp doesn't have anything at all to do with this temp. I should maybe even call this temperature Fahrenheit to be more explicit. But I'm thinking the command should be a little bit more general, because I don't just want temperatures that are integers. Maybe I want a temperature that has decimals. So now I have a variable that can hold an input number that's a double. So instead of what I had before, which was this, which actually does the calculation, instead I'll take that calculation, and that's how I want my commands to work. I'll make a variable called answer that does that exact same calculation, only I have to make sure that I'm using my input variable. So I'm going to take my input variable, do whatever calculations I need to do, save it as my answer. But now I need a way to get that answer back up here into main. I need a way to send that information back up here so that I can use it. So how do I send it back? It's with the return statement. So whatever comes after return, this is what I'm going to send back to main as the output from my F to C command. So I'll say F to C temp, And now the way that you imagine the flow of information is when temp is 35, that 35 gets sent down here to this variable. I use that 35 to make my calculation, and then the answer gets returned. It gets sent back up here to where it came from, and now that's getting saved up here in my table. So really, this is going to output the same thing that it did before, only now I'm using a command here to do it. I hope this has helped. Good luck on the rest of your problems.